Hi, I'm Joel Grimes. Welcome to another Start to Finish tutorial. Now, I've been doing these for about, I don't know, 10 years or so. And I had a series of about 12 of them that I sort of bundled up. And I'm working on another series of 12. So if you have not seen one of my Start to Finishes before, I just try to take a concept and go from the very beginning of the shooting process all the way to the retouching. A couple of these ideas that I've had for Start to Finish are some things that I've been practicing on my own. And then I think, you know what? I think this might be something that someone's interested in. So then I go and I find either the same model that I worked with or somebody new and kind of reenact that whole sort of a step process through. I've been out in my LA studio now for about 4 months. And when I first got here, I thought, what can I do that's a little bit different? And if you know and you follow my work, I'm primarily a portrait photographer. I've done landscapes. I started out as a landscape photographer in college, and I've shot just about everything from products to, sports figures, a lot of healthcare stuff in my ad work. And so because I got a degree in photography in the fine arts from the University of Arizona, I always sort of have this anchor point that I want to go back to, and that is creating images that are for myself. And it might end up that they will work for a client scenario, but first and most important is I please myself. I want to do something that I want to hang on my own wall, I guess you would say. So when I call this sort of like the fine art realm of things. I have a little bit of a hard time using that term, but fine art meaning that it's not necessarily for a client. And so I had Lauren, this one model come in, Lauren Monte. I used her in the past over the years. She's from LA. And so we brought her in, and from day one, I told her, I said, let's do something a little different. And so she brought all this wardrobe, and I had been practicing and doing some shoots over the years with simulating sunlight. And I had one of the workshops I did, we did a scenario out in the sun, full sun, no strobes, with a white background and having the sun cut across a model, and it looked incredible. And then I said, well, let's do that with strobes. And so we went to the shaded side. We were at my home in Buckeye, Arizona at the time, and we did in the shade the same kind of shoot, but with strobes. And so everyone was like, wow, I mean, we can do that anywhere. We don't have to wait for the sun. And which is, if you live in Portland, especially in the winter months, or up in the Pacific Northwest, or even if you're in Buffalo, New York, where it's freezing out, you can always do a simulated sunlight in an area that's, well, I say controlled area. It doesn't have to be a studio per se, so I started doing some of that stuff, and then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna revisit that look. And so we got Lauren to come in, and we did some scenarios that immediately I was like, oh my gosh, these look incredible. So here's the first one we did from day one. She has all this black wardrobe. She brought a black hat, and I got the shadow and everything. And so I add a little texture to the background. And so that was the first one we did. Then we went, and I had this table, actually, the table I have now, I own this one, but at first I was renting a table. And so here in Hollywood, in LA, you can get anything. And so we did the hat. She loved the idea of being sort of ambiguous, so you don't really show the face. And at first I was like, well, okay, we can run with that. And then this one is probably one of my favorites. She has these funky shoes, and I mean, it was just, we were playing around, and it was the same lighting, same approach every single time, very simple. And so we just kept playing. And then we did this, flip the dress thing. I'm gonna show you, we're gonna do a scenario of that with her. But so that worked out pretty well. And then I did a shoot with Russell Brown from Adobe. He got these funky wings. He came in here, and I said, I got to get Lauren she was the model that he wanted to use. So we used her for that, and I pulled one image off of that. Then I did some self-portrait stuff, which I don't think I've really ever done a self-portrait per se, you know. So I had this suit, and I got a hat, and I just started doing some funky stuff with that. And so then here is the one shot you're going to watch me do. Lauren, and she had this really weird puffy little sort of dress thing and with some black hose, stretchy pants or whatever she's got on. And I thought, well, okay, that's kind of cool. And then we did this cape with this flipping whatever. And then what I didn't do is I didn't record this one, but we were all done and I was getting ready to tear down. I said, Lauren, can I just get you with the hood over the top of the head? And I did that one. And so, but anyway, this is the two main images that I think I pulled off from this. So it's the exact same approach that I did these others, I mean, literally down to the T. Now, I'm going to explain some of this stuff when we get, and one of the problems I have, the studio is not super big. It's a live-work space, so I drive back and forth every 2 weeks from the Arizona to here. I live in Wickenburg, Arizona now. And so when I start setting up all the lights and then I start setting up cameras, it gets a little tight. The cameras I've been using, these Canon XE10s, even at a 24 millimeter, it just doesn't seem like it's wide enough to kind of cover a lot of things. So it's a little tight in here. So when I'm doing the filming, it's not the most, I don't think. I have some little Osmos, I think, that go even, those little DJI Osmos that go wider, but, and I use those for behind the scenes stuff. But anyways, so it gets a little tight in here. You're gonna see that on and I hope it's kind of out of the frame a little bit, but on the light that's gonna be simulating the sun, is just it's a Westcott FJ400 strobe. And so you might use Profoto or Godox or whatever. Basically what you want to do is get a standard hood. And Westcott gives, let me just step over here. Westcott, when you buy those strobes, they come with it's almost like a hood and like a protected cover part, even though it's open in the front. I store them like that. And then it's a small little hood. And so I have another standard hood over there. It's a little bigger. That's probably more of what you might have if you don't have the Westcott. And this is about 6 inches to 8 inches, 6 inches, maybe 6 inches. I don't know. I'm not very good at that. And most standard hoods are probably about 8 to 9 inches around, a little bit bigger. So when it comes to, and I didn't explain this, so I'm going to explain it now, simulating sunlight, what you want to do is you want to basically get the light source, this is my source, the same size as the sun in relationship to your subject. Well, the sun's, I don't know, billions of miles away. I don't know what it is. I was sleeping during my science classes. It's far away, right? So the sun's actually in the horizon. It's going to be at the, like, say, sunrise or sunset. It's going to be a little bigger because of the atmospheric. But as a general rule, say like, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not that big, but it's a certain size. So what I did years ago, and you don't have to go do this, but I was trying to solve, so where do I put the light? How far do I put the light? What modifier do I put on there? So what I did was I took my light outside and I raised it up, and it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I walked back until the modifier, this is the modifier, I say the source, became roughly the same size as the sun. You might want to wear some thick glasses. And that's one way to discover how to get your modifier into distance. So the smaller your circle of modifier, the closer you can get your subject. So let's say the standard hood that's about this big around, you might want to get that about 20 feet back. This I run about probably 12 to 15 feet, 12, 8, maybe 12, 15 feet. The closer you get it, the softer it's going to be. Now, in this case, you move it 3 feet, it's not going to change that much. You move a softbox 3 feet, and it's going to be a fairly drastic sort of difference. But at about 12 feet, this looks really good. Still contrasty. So what I do is I explain that I have this big octo box, which you don't have to have the octo box. You can have a umbrella or even a big soft box, a big source. You can use a piece of foam core and shoot light into it and bounce back into it. If you don't even have, if you say you have foam core, you can soften it. So you're bringing light into the scene. And also, she's standing on a white piece of 4x8 sheet of plastic. It's a PVC sheeting. And so that bounces a little bit up too. So what I'm doing is I'm smoothing the tones down, the contrast, and the shadows are bringing detail by having that overhead light come over. That's really the secret to the whole thing. It's a secret sauce. And once you get that, there's really no end to what you could do. You could, the subject can be smaller in the frame. It can be bigger in the frame. You know, different things that you can do once you get it dialed in. I kind of like to have the shadow in there. I can't do it on every one because sometimes the shadows get really far. And I'm running everything square. And the reason why I'm doing that, you may say, Joel, why is it square? Your camera doesn't shoot square. Well, I'm adding, and I'm going to go through the retouch and show you how to do that. That's more of a kind of a fine art approach. And one of the things that's really nice about that is when you go and you put them up on the wall, you can have these square and it's kind of like it's just visually very striking. Now, I love the panorama look. I love different canvas sizes and perspectives of, you know, like the rectangular perspectives. But the square is just something about it. It gives me, at least from the history that I have in photography, more of a fine art feel. So that's why I'm doing that. So this works great because I can extend the canvas. It's just white. So with that, I think I've covered enough. We're going to go now and behind the scenes. You'll see Ben, her husband. He's kind of a wardrobe stylist guy. He's helping out. She shows up with, I mean, I'm not kidding you, 4 suitcases, huge traveling suitcases full of wardrobe. It takes about an hour for her to set everything up in here. It's crazy. She's wonderful. She's just a wonderful person too. And so I have a lot of fun with Lauren. So let's go and I've got another start to finish with her with a table scenario. You might check that one out. And I filmed another one where he did this big flat, but I had some issues with my video. We'll see if I can pull that off. But with that, we're going to go to the behind the scenes and you get to see how I shoot it, and then we'll go to the retouch. We have Lauren Amante with us again. And we've done another start to finish with Lauren with the flats and the gray, a little darker feel. This is what I call simulating the sunlight look. And Lauren, when she first came to the studio a couple months ago here in my LA studio, we did some stuff and all of a sudden we ended up with, I have done this before, this simulated sunlight, but I really hadn't pushed it for what I would call more on the fine art side of things. So we did a whole bunch of stuff with Lauren. And so I'm going to show you how the lighting and everything that I've done. And we're going to do a scenario here, all in black. And we might actually we might change out a couple things. But anyways, this is really simple. And I say it's simple because lighting wise, you have to, I'll have to point one of the cameras over here because it's so wide in here. To the camera left, so over here, I have just a bare head, a head with the standard reflector, okay? It's actually a little bit of a smaller, it's the Westcott FJ400 with the little teeny reflector that comes with the kit, and then you can get a little bit bigger, so it's about a 5-inch reflector, so it's really small. What I'm doing is I'm simulating the sun. Now, when you do that, it gets very harsh. Okay, so overhead, I have a big 7-foot. It doesn't have to be a 7-foot octo. It could be, you could put one of those 7-foot umbrellas with, maybe you could put diffusion on it. Might be better. But if you don't have diffusion, a big source overhead is going to kick light in and soften the whole look down. So it's killing the contrast. It's filling in the shadows a little bit. You don't want to go too far. So I'll do a shot without this light and show you how harsh it is. And then with it, you can see the side by side, how that works. It's pretty amazing. Now, once we get Lauren in position here, the shadow is going to go to her right, camera left. And so to shorten the shadow, we back her up against the sweep. And this is just a sweep. I've got this plastic, it's the Home Depot plastic sheeting. And I got like 4 or 5 sheets on here, so I can slide them out. And if I do a big sweep on white. And then about, every week I get some little Windex and a cloth, and I wipe it down. So that saves me having to destroy a white every time someone steps on it. It's going to destroy it. So it saves this paper. I probably had this paper 3 or 4 years, this white roll. So in the old days, I'd be buying a roll about every 2 months. So this helps save on the paper. So let's do that. We're going to show you the scenario of the sunlight. And this sunlight is up about, I would say 7-8 feet up and just angling down. So where's the exact spot? Well, I might move it around a little bit, and then it depends on if she's looking this way, turning down. I might move that light a little bit, raise it up a little bit. There's no exact place. It depends on the position I have her. The overhead light, I just leave it. So let's do a scenario, and we're going to show you without the big overhead, with just the sunlight, and then with it, and show you the side by side. So let's get started. All right, Lauren, let's, just for kicks, straight on. And I'm going to, let me do this. I'm going to flip this so we have a little bit tighter, and then we'll see where the shadow falls here. All right, right about there. Okay, so we're going to take my B light, this is the overhead B light, and we're going to put it to sleep. All right, so this should be just the sunlight. Look, here we go. All right. Now, in this case, my shadow is not in the picture, but that's okay. I'm going to zoom in. Let's do one more. I want to show you how contrasty it is, and we'll have a frame here. Ready? This is without the overhead, and then we'll bring the overhead in, and we'll fire it. So now you see detail on her face, and that is, the setting of power on that is at a 5.3 output. On the sunlight, it's a 6.0. Now that means nothing if you don't have these strobes, and you might not have them the exact same distance, but to go to show you is almost pretty close to equal power. Now this big Octabox absorbs a lot of light, so it's just barely putting a little bit of light in there. And so now let me flip it horizontal, because I've got to get that shadow in there, I think. And then what I do is I extend the white. Top and bottom, and make it into a square image. All right, so let's go fire one here. So now we have the full shadow in there, and obviously I'm really wide. My paper's not that wide, but that's okay. I've got my eye tracking on, so I don't have to worry about focus. So once I get my lighting, I dialed in. Let's have, Lauren, just for kicks, I want to show a frame of you looking into the light a little bit. Don't look at the light, but into the light direction. Okay. All right. So the shadow looks pretty incredible. And so once I dial in that light, now even in that scenario, the shadow is off the page. So why that does that is because she's turning sideways, I think. So step forward. Keep coming. Okay. Now you're at the edge of this frame, or you're on the right-hand side, and that shadow hopefully will be in there. So let's try it again. So so now I got your whole shadow. Yes. Okay. So now once we get our light, there's a little bit of wobbles in the paper. I'm not worried about that. I can fix all that in Photoshop. So I'm just going to follow Lauren. Just let her do her thing. Whoops. Woo. Yeah, I wish I could have Lauren lean against that, but there's air between her and the windows and whatever. So that's one good thing about a studio where you have a solid cyc or wall that's built into like sheetrock or something. Okay, ready? Whoops, a little soon. Even straight on looks really good because now you have a shadowed side. I say straight on meaning that it's cutting across you. It looks great. So my settings are 7.1, that's my aperture. I'm at 200th of a second, that's the highest speed sync I can go. And then I have ISO 250. And if I went to 100 ISO, I would have to get probably at least double the amount of power out of my strobes, which is I can do, but then it wears them out quicker. So, all right, let's try something. Here we go. So I'm looking at that shadow too to see what kind of shape it gets. Sometimes you get a face or you get something kind of that's, ooh, I like that. Now move to your right because I need to get a little bit more room. There you go, right there. Now let's try that. Whoops, that one light didn't go off. There we go. Now that, I have a face over on the left-hand side with, it looks almost like the Wicked Witch of the West. It's kind of cool. Now go closer to the paper, just see what happens. The same thing, put your hands on your hips again. See what that does. Ooh, look at that shape. It's got a pointy chin. Okay. So weird things happen, and it's kind of fun to just see what shapes happen. And now, Lauren, I know you're going to get mad at me because I'm going to ask you if we can get a hat at some point. But
do you want to switch the outfit, maybe?
We can maybe hold on. Just do one where you. Let's see. I like the straight on. Yeah, but still go that way a little bit right there because I get that shadow. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I feel like this is almost like, remember Twiggy, the model Twiggy? Doesn't it kind of feel like a little Twiggy 60s?
Yeah.
You know? Oops. Ooh, I like that. Okay, that's perfect. That's our shot. Okay, now let's do that again. That's kind of a little cocky, but pull your hair on the left. It would be forward a little bit just to equal them out. Right there. It just was off to the. It was there. You go. Now do that look. Your kind of cocky look. Kind of. Whoops, too soon. Right there. That is a nice shot. I love it. I like it. Whoop. Now come to your, go more on this side of the frame so I can get that shadow. There you go. Whoops, sorry. Try lifting one leg like you're kind of like you're doing when you're little, kind of like, yeah, exactly. Whoops, no, my light didn't go off. There it goes. That's kind of cool. I like it. I like it. Okay, so we're going to do a wardrobe change, and this is a really cool dress. It's got a cape that's connected to the back of it. All right, so we might do some flipping it, like let it, and we'll get Ben to come over here and flip it and time it, and then the shadow cast. Now this is a 9-foot sweep, paper sweep, 9-foot length, or this side to side. Over on this wall, I have a 12-foot. And I bought that specifically because of this scenario we're doing. It was just a little too short. However, we just did this whole setup. I have the gray down to simulate kind of a gray wall, and the white's behind it. So I would probably roll that up. I have to get on a ladder to do it, all that. But we'll just have to be careful that when we get in here that if we flip it, we have enough distance to capture the shadow. So, but you can buy a 12-foot paper sweep. A little more expensive. They're like I don't know, I can't remember, 160 bucks or something like that. I'm in LA and I get it down at Sammy's Camera. You might be able to get that shipped if you live in an area where you don't have a Sammy's Camera. It's a big roll, but you know, that shows up at your doorstep. And then I just take a big pole. I actually have a pole that I bought years ago that's telescopic. It's a photography, pole for backdrops. And I'm hanging it from the ceiling with just webbing, just the inch nylon webbing with some C-clamps up above on the rafter, the metal rafter up there. So just to let you know, we can get a 12-foot sweep. It's available. And of course, if you have a scenario where you have a studio where you don't need that, you have a wall that's white that's painted, that's, in my other studio, I had a 40-foot wide wall, but don't have that now. So let's do this. Let's see what happens. And we'll get some cool stuff with this. So again, go to your left a little bit so the shadow goes that way. And let's just see what we can get in here. So this is straight, okay. And then we'll have you, do some hoodie stuff, and okay, straight on. We'll do a straight on with the hood like that. Nice. So one of the things that Lauren, when she shows up with all this wardrobe options. And a lot of the models that I photograph literally show up with a couple pairs of pants, very little. And so it's a gold mine to have someone that shows up with this many outfits. Okay, that looks great, but just pull back a little more face, just a little bit. I want to see an eye. I like it. Okay, now when you grab that one cape on the side there, you grabbed it, just pull it out a little bit. Maybe just a little bit, yeah. Whoops. Got your hand. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, I like it. So now go to your right, so we can get that shadow. There we go. This almost looks like a nun. We have a nun in the studio. Okay. All right.
That's kind of cool.
Ooh, I like that. So I think this is gonna look good when we flip it. Okay, we'll get Ben over there in a second. So let's just shoot a couple more with just, yeah, I think if we flip this cape, it'll look incredible. All right. Nice. All right, Ben, what do you think?
Very good.
Just, I don't know if we need to do too much, but, and then the key is obviously you have to get out of the white once you pull it so we can get the shadow. So let's see what happens. Okay, ready? Just do it. We'll do it.
3, 2.
Okay, now, so Lauren, I have to get you to go that direction. Okay, so we get plenty of white and a shadow.
Let me know if I need to pull it up or just drop
Yeah,
it.
we'll just see what happens. It bounces.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
you can't, it's because it's kind of stretchy. Can't pull it out too much. Just kind of drop it. Ready? 3, 2.
Nice. Okay, this is a tough one because unfortunately Ben has to get out of the shadow, but that's okay. We'll just do it. We're gonna get it.
2.
Nice. What I would do is I would just pull it towards you and then,
Drop it.
yeah, just drop it.
Is that
Cool.
looking a little better?
Now, Lauren, when your arm it's under your arm, your arm is in the cape, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yes, part of the,
like that. See if you can get a movement this way.
Oh,
This
so
is great.
her arm's over it. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's okay.
I can put it.
yeah.
Like that, there you go. Ready?
3, 2.
That looks pretty good. Okay, so let's just now now we got it, we're gonna nail it.
Fix the hair a little
I'll try to fire it. You count to 3, Ben, and then I'll follow you. Wait, let's get ready here.
bit. Do you like the hood where it is here?
Yeah, I like it up top, yeah,
Do 3, 2, drop.
okay.
3, 2, drop.
Yeah, that's, and then I know, Lauren, just go a little bit more that direction because we're just at the edge of the shadow. Okay,
3, 2, drop.
it's so funny because I'm a little late, so I'm gonna, go ahead, I'll get it. It's all about timing here.
3, 2. Sorry. 3, 2, drop.
That's perfect. Now, what if you're looking at me? But you're turned that direction, but you're just turned back at me just a little bit.
Just pivoted.
No, just that way, yeah. Exactly, there you go. But, okay. Now, well, we'll fire one here, but I'm saying, yeah. And then now flip it. And we could put a fan on you, really cold air. Okay, ready?
3, 2, drop.
Oh, that looks good. That looks good. Okay. Now, what would, if that other part goes behind you a little bit more, right? Yeah, let's just see what happens.
Arm still back here?
Yeah. Okay, ready?
2, drop. So it's still in there.
No. Well, it's at the very edge. But no, it looks pretty cool though. So what's weird is we got a shadow of you and a shadow of that. So there's kind of like a weird kind of gap in between. This time just see what happens. Instead of pulling, don't pull it towards you, but go straight up. Just see what happens.
Yeah, it like springs back.
I know, it's got that,
Yeah, let me see how this falls for a second. Not like that.
yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
3, 2.
Okay, that looks pretty amazing. You're in the picture, unfortunately, but we can get you out.
Okay.
I mean, we can, if we get the right shot, we'll figure it out.
3, 2. It's hard to not get it to spring back. 3, 2.
Whoops, sorry. Oh no, I nailed it. That's funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, okay, but I think that the cape needs to come over a little bit more over the top. Here, look at it.
Oh yeah.
And then
That's gonna look cool.
let me I'll shorten the shadow just a little bit by pulling it this way.
Yeah, that's good.
So if I pull it this way, it'll shorten the shadow just a little bit more. Does that make sense? Just it'll shorten it. Okay, hold on, let me focus. Okay, I'm focused.
3, 2.
Nailed it. Let me show it to you, Lauren, so you can kind of see what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
There's one for the series.
That's pretty
It's almost
cool.
like a hand here.
All right, now comes the point in which I will show you how I retouch. This is, again, not the most difficult retouch to do, but I'm going to show you my steps. Now, I have a couple, one in particular, I have a texture that I'm going to attach to the white. And it's really kind of fun to do that. And it's subtle, but it's enough to think, well, that looks like kind of like a wall. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But let's get to, let me go to my raw images here. And we have one selected, and this is the one we're going to do. And it's a pretty simple approach to my retouch. So I explain this in almost every time I teach Photoshop. I always explain that I'm going through Bridge, this is Bridge, and it will open it up through the Adobe Camera Raw converter interface. It's the same engine that works with Lightroom. And they've pretty much mirrored a good portion of the actual developing part of your image to match Lightroom. Now, Lightroom has more options and like keywording and things like that, tagging your images and all that. You can do that even in Bridge, but I work out of Bridge, and so that's, when you watch and see me what I'm doing, it can mirror to the T the actual developing part in Lightroom. So Command R gets me over to RAW. Now I've already processed this, so let's go back and we're just gonna set it to its default. So that's what came out of the camera. Now you can see I've got part of my studio over here and whatever. All I am caring about when I'm shooting her is that she's on the white and the shadow is there. Now this paper is a little wobbly, and you're gonna have, because of the closeness to that, the light that's simulating the sunlight is fairly close to her. You're going to get a lot more white on the right hand side here, her left, and it'll kind of taper off. We're going to fix that. If you have a bigger modifier, so let's say you don't have the little teeny hood that I had for you, and you have a bigger one, you can back it up. And the further you back up your light, the more evenly distributed the value of light across the full sweep. Unless you shoot straight on, that's really simple. But as you're cutting across, it's going to be a little brighter. So just keep in mind that if you want to keep it a little more even, you can, in this studio space, I'd have to flip it so I have a big white 12-footer over here. I have more room on that side of the studio. But because of the scenario, I had the gray, we were shooting on gray, so I didn't want to move it. So this is a 9-foot sweep. And so let's go over here, and I'm going to look at a couple things first. The contrast, I'm going to soften, because we're already trying to soften a little bit, and we'll probably end up building a little bit of contrast when we end up finishing it off. Highlights, I probably pull it to the right in this case because I want my white to kind of go pure white, and I'm watching her, and I don't see that. Normally I cut the highlight to the left here, but in this case I'm not going to do that. I'll pull it to the right. We're going to add a little detail in her little wardrobe. And then on the white here, let's pull it just a tad, not much. And so I'm going to look at everything else. I think it looks good. So, in looking at this shadow, one of the hardest parts when I get to do the final is that this part of the shadow down here at the very end starts to fade a little bit, and I have to kind of fix that. So we'll do that in the Photoshop. And we're also going to smooth that out too. But you could go over here, and we got the masking technique or masking interface over here. And then I could go to brush, and let's say I go over here and I say, okay, I've got it on the auto mask. And let's say I come along here and I come right around the back side here, let's just say. And if I go too far, I can always go back and subtract it. But let's just see what happens. And I lighten that up a little bit. Okay, I lighten it up just a tad to kind of feather it. It's not really, let's see if I go with highlights. What does that do? Oh, my whites, I bet the white will do it. Okay, we don't want to go too far. But that'll make that little, that shadow a little more distinct there. And this shadow didn't really give me, in this scenario, it's sort of like like some of them, they look like faces, or you know, a ghost is chasing the model or something. In this case, it's pretty average, nothing that's really worth preserving, but I like the shadow on there. So that is all we're going to do in there. So we're going to go back to my basic mode here. I usually don't convert it to black and white here in this kind of scenario. If I'm doing a landscape, I know it's going to be in black and white, and then I go and I say, I want the tones. I might start in black and white. I go back and forth because I've done, when I say this, about 100 different scenarios of trying to figure out which is the best end result, and it's kind of a flip of a coin. But we do know that we are in what we call a non-destructive environment in the raw converter or in Lightroom. And so we want to usually stay there as long as we can. All right, so we're going to go and say open the image. And my Photoshop was shut down here, but it'll come open here. And oops, it's still doing it. Still moving. There it is. Okay, let's get over here. Let's get my my properties over here. Let's get my layers over here. Oh, that's history. Well, let's just drop history in there. Layers over here. Everything kind of moved over on me. All right, let's get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to knock it down just a little bit here. Let me click on the background. And the first thing I would notice is that I am going to probably extend the canvas over here. So I'm going to come over to my rectangular marquee, and I'm just going to pick up the white right to the edge of her, and then where I'm at, Command T is free transform. Because it's a pure white, I'm just going to go and hold a shift and just bring it over to the edge there. Okay, so that, and then Command D will get rid of that selection. Let's take, and I'm going to crop it, because I don't want to go beyond, in fact, I might not even have, let's get out of the square for a second. We're going to go to just a regular resolution. And for this, I'm going to show you, we'll try to keep in this shadow, and then we may not. So let's go over here. That's as far as I can go, but not really. So if I want to go square, what I do is I extend it so that she's dead center. I let go. And then one last time, I will pull the white over and fill it in. Now, I think on the demo that I did, or when I did this shot, I cropped in a little bit because she was getting a little bit small. But let's go and we'll make it square really big, which I do in a lot of my images, and then I'm just going to show you how I do that. So at this point, I want to go up to Image, and I want to go to Canvas. Oh, I let go too quick. There it goes, Canvas. And it's already selected, the blue highlight. Command C copies that. Then I go and I highlight the height, that was the width. Command V, now I have a canvas that's exactly the same, and I click the very bottom arrow, which now says it's going to push everything to the top. And I say, okay. So now I have a square, but it's not filled in. Well, no worries, because I'll take my marquee again, and there's not a lot of white over her head. But I got to get the whole thing. I'm going too fast here. Right there. All I need is enough white, and I can take my brush and fill it in too, but Command T, and we're going to pull it to the top. Whoops. And then Command D eliminates that. Well, so I think when I did this, I looked at it and I said, you know what, I don't really like this shadow over here so much. It's not very, so I went over to my crop, I went to my square, and I brought it down to where it looked like something I want to hang on the wall. Let's go up this way. I'm using the just arrow keys to, and I think that actually looks pretty good. And we'll say return, and it'll crop it. Now, I don't have delete cropped on here. Now, there's times when you might want to use that because then it takes and makes your file smaller, doesn't take as much RAM and all that. In this case, I just leave it because it's not, this file is not going to get real big. We're not going to have that many layers. Okay, so I'm looking at everything and I can see that it's a little darker over here. So what I'm going to do is, first, well, let's just make a black and white layer. We're going to put a black and white layer, and then we're going to go and make a levels, and we're going to take the gradient tool, which is over here on the left. For me, it's on the left. I'm on my tools palette thing. And I go up here to the linear, which is the very first little square. There's five little options up here. It's linear, and we're going to pull it. I'm going to hold the shift key down so it's straight. Pull it from the left of the frame over to the middle. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm not sure if it's set up right. Let's see. No, we want to invert that. So I go Command I, will invert the mask, go back to properties. So if you don't see your properties, just double click, I call it the little crown. Just click on that and it'll show you the properties. So we're going to lighten that up a little bit so it starts to match the value around here. That did a pretty good job. Now, what I could do is say, well, maybe it's a little hot, so let's, on this side, so let's go do the same thing, only this time we'll pull from here, and we will, let's take a look at that. Let's see if we can go, hold on. And we'll pull to the right, oop, invert that. See, sometimes I can't, let's see, black conceals, no, black reveals, white conceals. Hope I got that right. Okay, so we're going to pull that just a little bit. So now I feel like it's matching pretty good. I feel like that because I'm going to add a texture anyways. So, all right. So now we look at her. Let's take a look at her for a second before I go any further. You know, again, I think I mentioned that hair is one of the hardest things to retouch. She's got hair coming down there. I could take all that hair out there, but I don't think it looks that bad. Now, what I might do is go over here to my filter, go to liquify, and I might take, let's blow this up a little bit, and I might fix the hair a little bit, like this little bump right here. I might just bring it in just a little bit. And then I might just push this back a little bit like this. I don't want to get the chin. So if I don't want to get the chin, and this is probably not something I would do, I might actually cut it out, but you can mask it off here and then go back to my push tool. And then you're not worried about bumping the chin. But I think that doesn't really bother me. So we're going to say okay. But that fixed it up a little bit. Then I see a little dark section right here. Well, all I have to do is go over here to my spot healing brush. And I'm just going to go and run it right along there and fix that little spot. Her ear's coming through there. Let's blow it up. And we're not going to do a retouch on her face necessarily because it doesn't really need it. But I can see that there's some hairs. Look at this one here. I don't like that one. We're going to fix that. Maybe a couple little things here. Look at that hair. You know what? I'm not a big fan of hair. Nothing personal. I used to be a big fan when I had it. But I'm not a big fan now because you have to carry a comb with you or a brush. All right. So, okay, so that looks pretty good. And one of the things too that you go and you look on black and you'll find out all sorts of little goobers on a black wardrobe that you got to fix. In this case, it looks pretty good. Usually it's the look, there's a hair there. Usually it's the that's got more like a felt or cotton. So all right, let's get to making the magic happen. So let's go over here to my bridge. And I know that I have that texture. Let's go up to my textures. Go to the very top up here. All right, Joel's favorite textures. These textures, I think I might have mentioned, I mention it every time. The ones that I have right in front of me, there's a couple of these are mine, but a lot of these are from flypapertextures.com. And you can go on their site and you can buy a bundle of them, and they're not really that expensive. And so I use them all the time. They have a couple really good ones that I would have a hard time finding. And this is one of them, glass plate right here. And there's a couple more that I use that are just incredible. This glass plate here, 22, I cleaned it up, but it's incredible. But we're going to use this one right here. So just double click on it. We're going to open it up and say, yes, this is good. We want it. Come over to Photoshop. And then I'm going to hit the V key. And I'm going to pick it up, bring it over to the top of where the image I'm working on, and then let go. And then I'm going to take Command T, and we are going to rotate it. So this was called Glass Plate 2, if you want to go look it up. And we're going to flip it 180. All right. So let me go over here and I'm going to turn this off for a second. Let me zoom in. One of the things that I did on purpose is and it's been kind of banged around a little bit now, but I want a seam to go across there so it looks like kind of like a wall. And because it's been stepped on a few things, I actually had it pretty straight. I bent the paper, ran that plastic sheeting up against the edge, and then with time it's sort of losing its. I got to pull the chain back up and get it tight. But basically, I'm going to run that texture to the edge of that to make it look like it's a wall. All right. So let's click this. I'm going to go. We're going to bring. Hold on. I got the wrong layer. Command T, and then I'm going to bring it over to the edge here. Let's go down just one glitch here. Actually, we can go back up, but you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to go and I don't want to. I want to. There's a couple little goobers on the edge. I'm going to get rid of those. So Shift, pull over. And so we don't want the top of that. Okay, so we're going to say, let go. And we look at it and we say, Joel, that's not very good. Well, of course, we got to do the blending mode. Now, I explain blending modes a lot. Overlay and soft light work with 50% gray. Guess what works with white? Multiply. So look at, and there's still a little bit on her because she's got some highlights, but look how that works incredible. So what we're going to do is we're going to unclick that for a second, go back to the main layer, go over here to my quick select tool. We're going to go to select subject and we want to put it to cloud detail results. Click on that. If you watch some of my start to finishes, you're going, Joel, you do a lot of this same stuff. And I go, it is true. I do a lot of cutouts. And then I hit select and mask. It's going to go and create a mask. And what I do is I come in here and I look and I say, okay, I'm going to get it's already defaulted to it, but it's on the second refined edge tool. And there's a little bit of hair here that didn't get picked up. And a little bit under her chin there to get picked up. Oh, that's really getting a little bit too much power. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, let's go back to color aware, see what that does. Yeah, I think it was trying, yeah, color aware is a better option there. You can just kind of practice and see which one works the best. So we're going to pick up a little stray hairs. But in this case, that's not a full knockout, but I just want to show you that's how we do it. All right, so we're going to invert it, and then we go down here. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Maybe that's the art right there. I just screen capture it, and I'm done. Select the output on layer mask, and hit OK. And then we're going to drag that up to the mask, and we're going to say, let me see it. So let's come down here. So now that mask is, or that texture is not hitting her at all. And that's way too powerful. So what I'm going to do now is going to click on the icon that is the layer or the texture, and we're going to pull the opacity back a little bit. So I know that from the series I've been working on, the best is about in the 30s, opacity-wise. Now, your vision may be different than mine. So I can see right now that this side over here, I wish it was, I think it went too far. So let's pull that back a little bit. And then this can come up a little bit to even it out. Now, that looks pretty good to me. I'm not done yet, so I'm going to do a vignette. And we're going to go down to my layers, hit levels, go over to my gradient again, hit the circular one, which is, or the radial gradient, the circle, and we're going to pull about mid down. And I'm on black as my foreground color. And then I make sure my properties are here, and we're going to pull it down a little bit. And I like that, but what it did is it lost a lot of detail in the shoes and whatever her legs are. All right, so we go over here to the mask. We go to my brush. We're on black. Let's say, 50, 40, somewhere around there. And I have a soft brush. Just make sure it's soft, yes. And then I'm going to pull back some of this detail. So it still keeps the vignette, but it doesn't darken. And they're already so dark anyways. But I want to see some detail on here. So I pulled that back. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. So I'm looking at things, I'm looking at around, and so you may say, Joel, that looks a little too sharp of an edge. That's true, it might. So what I do is I go to I'm on my layer here. Oh no, I'm on my mask. And I'm going to go to a brush that is going to be, let's see, we want to make sure it's, black brush. And let's go to, we'll start at 28%. I got to get the whole thing here. And I'm going to start at the edge, go really small. And I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to tap. Start over here. Let's just go to the shoe because I can see it better. And I just go back and forth a few times. And that kind of makes it feel like it's, a wall that's been painted, and whoops, I went a little too high on that one. And it's got an edge to it, but it's not like a crisp edge. All right, so that looks pretty good. So with that, I think I'm getting pretty close. Now I go over to my black and white. I'm going to finish this thing off. I can change my tones in this black and white properties right here. And I can, like say, I make her skin a little brighter. Let's see, yellow makes it a little brighter too, a little darker, a little brighter, whatever. And let's see what blue does. Blue, it changes the background a little bit. So let's say I want, actually I kind of liked a little bit of a snap there. So there's no green in there, at least I don't think there is. And so I can change my tone just slightly in this little properties here, the black and white option. All right. So with that, I think I'm pretty darn close. Now I see that there is, and I don't know what that is. Let's see if I can turn it off. So that looks like it's part of my sheet that's on the, let's turn all these off. Yeah, I think what's happening here is that there's the edge, but my sheeting didn't go all the way up. It's kind of wobbly. So I'll have to fix that when I do this scenario again to make sure that plastic goes up against the back of the paper. I can fix that. I have to go into Photoshop, and it would just be very simply, I would do this. I would take my stamp tool here, and I come along here, and let's see, in this case, I might want a not quite too soft, and I would maybe bring a line that comes down like this. So that's kind of where that wall is. So I would come back here and click, and then I would just Am I on it? 50, 51% might be fine. And I'll just paint that back in there. And here it's a little more challenging. But let me just take a look at that when we go back all our layers. So there, see that line, let's go Command. That's a little bit better. So I'd have to go in here and fix that a little bit. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to get to the final here. So let's go to the very top. We're going to go, and this is Stamp Visible, one of the greatest little, I guess, shortcuts there is in Photoshop. Shift, Option, Command E. And you can find that under Layers, Visible. I think that's the one. But anyways, so that I have a snapshot of that image of everything below, but now it's in one layer. And then I'm going to go over here to finish it off. I'm going to go to Filter, Skyloom, Luminar Neo. And I explained this. I've been using this plug-in for a while now. And it's not very expensive. I don't know the exact cost, but it's like 60. I see that they have sales on it all the time, $60, $70, something like that. And I use it for other things too. So hit the E, which gives my edit. We're going to scroll down to, well, let me show you the one, I didn't do this, but the one thing that you can do is you hit Skin, and it'll pick up the skin here, and I do a little skin retouch there. And you can slim the face, you can do some things. That's all the AI stuff. The body, you can slim the body. Well, she doesn't need it. And then I go to Mystical, and I'll do, on this one, I'll do about a 30. 30 Mystical, and then because I do Mystical, I gotta automatically do Details, so it gives it a soft feel, but I want a little bit of Christmas, so I bring back just a little bit of the snap, so that the hair, everything looks really good. And then I go up to Develop, and I go and I take Smart Contrast to the right, Highlights to the left, Shadows to the right. And then I say Apply. And that's only on the Stamp Visible layer. And that kind of gives me that little bit of that mood. So you could, if you wanted to add a little sepia look. I did on a couple of them, I added a little bit of a sepia, but you gotta be careful. If you're gonna do a series, you want them all to look the same. So what I would do is, if I was gonna print them out, I would bring them all in and then add the same amount of sepia to each one. So let me hit the tab, and then let's blow this up a little bit. And there you have the retouch of Lauren. I hope this is something that you will find interesting as you go and get a subject to do. You can, Richard Avedon, if you don't know that name, I hope you do. He's passed away now, but he's very, very famous photographer. He did a book on the American West. He was a fashion, big-time fashion photographer in New York. And probably, if you put him up there with Annie Leibovitz, with Ansel Adams, but Richard Avedon was very, very well known. He did a book on the American West, and he shot thousands of portraits against, he'd take a white piece of paper, a 9-foot sweep, and he'd find an old barn on the shady side, tack it to the old barn, and he would shoot 8x10 camera portraits. That's how he did it. All natural light, no strobes, anything. And so he did that and built a series out of that. So white is a beautiful, I think, background to work with to get kind of graphic. So I call this the black on white, start to finish. And so I love black wardrobe, and Lauren makes a great subject because she's got the white skin and the blonde hair and everything. So find a subject like that, do your test, go out, create a body of work. I would say, and I've told people this, you could take one look like this. Maybe you like photographing kids, and you say, I want to do a whole series in my little town of Podunk, whatever you live in. I say Podunk, but you might be in Iowa or Kansas or somewhere, and you're not in LA or New York or Chicago or whatever. But you could build a body of work that could do portraits, say, of kids on white, black and white, with a simulated sunlight look, and it could be incredible. So think outside the box a little bit. Take this, I call it the fine art approach to doing something a little bit different, and then run with it. So with that, thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Keep checking out my start to finish tutorials. I'm hoping to do another 12, so I have the first dozen, and then I have another set of dozen of start to finishes that you guys can take a look at.